How you slash the prices on the screen.
Okay, I can do that right now. I want to so bad though. All right. Anyway, hello. Hi. How's it going?
Hi. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. Doing really good. All right. Now I'm jumping right back into it again. Boy, what a fabulous day we're having here.
Isn't it?
Isn't it? Just lovely.
Yeah.
Stupendous.
Let's just go right into this. Hello, everyone. This is Trends with Benefits. This is our weekly Roundtable Tech podcast here at Digital Trends, where we talk about the trending topics of the day, and we have some stuff to discuss. So we are broadcasting live, in addition to being a podcast, on YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, and Facebook. All four of those. I got them. All four of those we are broadcasting on right now. So since we are live, we love to, of course, hear feedback, and we want to know your thoughts and opinions on things. Today we're going to be talking about Google Duplex, which is that kind of creepy AI they've developed that will actually sound like a human. You may be talking to it soon. We'll discuss that. We've got some robots that can walk on water. We've got Apple HomePod and just kind of the battle between smart speakers. But to start off, we're going to be talking about mainly Apple Music versus Spotify and streaming music services in general. I did put a question up. I said, let's see, the question that we posted here, if you're watching live, which streaming music service is the best? Answer, Spotify, fight me. So that's... I'm sorry, Spotify is just the best in my opinion.
Yes.
But I do want to hear what you think, and we've got a panel here to talk about this. So to my right, we have...
I am Parker Hall. I write for the AV entertainment section and penned that lovely article about Apple Music versus Spotify. So.
Excellent, because I want to hear why everything that's going on with this Apple Music thing, because it's still mind-boggling to me. And on the end here joining us...
Hi, everybody. Kim Wetzel. I'm the smart home editor.
Hello, Kim. All right. So Spotify versus Apple Music. Kim, who do you go with?
Spotify.
Yeah. And why is that?
Well, I don't know. It's just easier. First off, I should just preface everything I say by saying I'm not married into the Apple system at all. I'm not an Apple person. I do have a Mac, but not into iTunes at all. So I've just never, I guess I should say, I don't really have a lot of experience with iTunes. Or Apple Music or anything. So I probably shouldn't say absolutely Spotify is the best because I haven't done extensive testing. But there's reasons why I'm not into Apple Music.
Yeah.
Because you know it's just this weird subscription service, and you're married into the system, and it sort of feels weird. You can't get out, like a cult or something. So for me, I'm going to go with Spotify. Yeah.
Spotify being the best, out of those.
Definitely.
Well, Parker, let's talk about your article here. So you wrote this talking about how Apple Music, and this was surprising to me, in case you didn't know, Apple Music is apparently beating Spotify when it comes to paid subscribers. And I personally don't really know anybody that uses Apple Music, but there are obviously a lot of people out there that are. So what's going on with this?
Yeah, so that's in the U.S. So globally, Spotify is still, the dominating streaming service that everyone uses outside of the U.S. But interestingly, I believe it was reported by the Wall Street Journal or Washington Post 6 months ago that Apple's user base was sort of growing in the United States at a quicker rate than Spotify's was. And so it appears as though, in the last couple weeks, Apple Music has finally overtaken Spotify in the U.S. market. So we kind of started... We were surprised by this as well. I mean, as advocates of Spotify,
right?
So we kind of we're banging our heads together trying to figure out what were the reasons that this could be possible.
Yeah, why would you be paying for it?
Because you're all members of a cult.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so that definitely is a major factor, right? So if you own an iPhone and you own a Mac and you have used iTunes forever, you're much more likely to go for the sort of streaming service that they're putting on a plate in front of you.
Right.
So you already have the phone. It's right there.
It's all there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
click the button.
When you ask Siri to play something and it doesn't give you the option to listen to it on Spotify and it says, hey, we have it on Apple Music, just subscribe. That's obviously the first choice. So if you're, not very tech educated or tech literate and you're trying to get into streaming and you own an iPhone, which, frankly, I would say the vast majority of iPhone owners are less tech literate than maybe people who are buying new Android devices.
It's calling you out, everybody.
Yeah, sorry.
You're less tech savvy and you're a member of a cult. So
and you're a member of a cult.
Call us out.
Yeah.
Let's hear the comments.
So that's part of it. But then also I think that Apple has done a better job than Spotify of sort of courting big name artists and their very, very loyal fan bases. So, a couple years ago paid Drake, I think, like $20 million for the exclusive rights to Views. And his new album, I believe, hit their service a few hours earlier than Spotify.
So it sounds like they're just basically paying. I mean, they do have so much money. They can just be like, here, Drake, here's $20 million. Come on, ours.
Yeah, first. Yeah. I mean, Apple, they float back and forth between like the most valuable company on earth.
Right.
And iTunes, I think, still makes them a decent profit. So where like Spotify loses money hand over fist, Apple doesn't really have that problem. But also, I think it's just their sort of embrace of, and we've seen it kind of with Beats as well. They've partnered with these big name artists in certain industries to sort of promote their brand. And I think that really does work when you sort of pair that with the fact that the kind of listener they're going after is also sort of an iPhone buyer, right? Like someone who listens to Drake a lot, let's be honest, like that's not exactly like the most tech savvy, group of listeners. Like it's not the kind of person who cares about like a listening algorithm or like discovering.
If Drake is your main motivating factor, you're probably not.
If you're really into pop music, you don't really care about music discovery that much because there are so many radio stations, there are so many places that you can hear the kind of music, modern pop music, that don't require sort of the same level of digging that Spotify really offers.
I'm taking a look here too at some of the comments that are coming in. Travis says on YouTube, Spotify to me has more features and quality and not the locked-in environment that Apple does. And that's true. I mean, that's true with pretty much everything of Apple, though. I mean, they try to make sure that you just stay in their ecosystem and locked into that. I think that's just pretty much company policy. But Mike is saying on Facebook, Google Play comes with YouTube Premium and no YouTube ads, which is another factor in there. I don't know how much that plays into the overall battle.
Yeah. I mean, so there are other services. I mean, we could talk about Tidal, Google Play, like YouTube Red, which I guess is Google Play now.
With all the
Pandora.
Changes they're making on that.
Yeah, so all of those exist, but I mean, the real major players in the market are Apple Music and Spotify by like a lot. The only other one that I guess you could sort of lump in there, and this is actually an interesting kind of caveat, is SiriusXM. Which does very, very well. I think they have 30 million subscribers. And it's more expensive. I think it's like $15 a month. And they do really well. And I think that Apple Music actually has taken a lot of lessons from SiriusXM. They have a radio they call Beats One Radio with Zane Lowe and a bunch of other. They court big name artists to host radio shows. And that's something that Spotify really hasn't done. Spotify doesn't have you can't listen to Elton John's radio show on Spotify.
Right.
But you can on Apple Music. So but it kind of goes again to that, like the fact that they've been courting these big name brands for their releases, but also that, if you're a huge Elton John fan and you're looking at which, streaming service to subscribe to, it's going to be Apple Music because they have, the radio show.
If you want that specific art, specific
and that's
artist,
what's driven a lot of SiriusXM subscribers. Like people like Howard Stern and various other, artists. Specific Willie Nelson has a channel. Like other people who have specific channels is like they've been targeting people who, artists who have these diehard fan bases, and dragging in those fans and then just keeping them there by, not being so much worse than Spotify that they make you want to leave.
We're passable, but we have Drake. And I just saw somebody comment, "Who's Drake?" Okay, so
who's Drake?
Good for you. Good for you. Honestly, for not knowing.
Bless you.
Yeah, God bless you. Don't look it up. But no, that is an interesting way that they're going about it. I mean, because I suppose that is their best marketing ploy.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen. So it started, and they were doing like a lot of album exclusives. So like the only place you could hear whatever X pop album would be on Apple Music, and they've realized, I think, that kind of pisses people off. That works until it doesn't. So it seems like now it's more just using artists' names as marketing for their brand. Rather than like trapping you there just to listen to that album.
So those are, and that's what we're talking about, Apple Music versus Spotify, generally speaking. Obviously, there are some people that use Google Play and the YouTube features for that. And seeing where that goes, in the future, I think that's going to be kind of interesting if they start incorporating more video services or, exclusive things, exclusive content, because we've heard some things that they may start bundling different things together to add into that aspect, because everybody's creating content right now. And so maybe that's another way to kind of spurn that on. But yeah, Spotify hasn't really made money, have they?
I mean technically, no.
Right.
But I've been waiting for their stock to tank, and it's
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a thing, I guess. Now that they're public, their value is kind of what the market decides their value is.
Right.
But yeah, they certainly don't have the money that Apple does.
Yeah.
Like they can't just reach out and grab a couple $1 billion like it's nothing,
right. Yeah, Apple just has laying around basically. Joseph says
literally.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. Joseph says Apple Music easy. So I mean, so there definitely are Apple Music fans that are out there. Listen back to the beginning of the show. Kim said something about you guys. So
they're not too far. I mean, like, it's not that bad. When I have to rewrite that comparison article a lot, and it's not that bad. So, you're not a total cult member necessarily.
Well, it is interesting to hear your comments.
That's what you think. That's what all cult members say.
Nobody thinks they're in a cult. Yeah. So let us know what you think and drop that in there. We do need to move on and talk about some other topics, but we're continuing with Apple and talking about different ecosystems, especially when it comes to smart speakers. And I didn't realize this by the end of this year, and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, but by the end of 2018, I think it's supposed to be 100 million smart speakers are out there.
Out there in the world by the end of this year, yeah.
That is crazy growth.
It is remarkable growth. I mean, these devices just were released in 2015, I think. So in just 3 years, 100 million units is a lot. Fortunately, not many of them are Apple HomePods, though. They are.
Fortunately. I'm with
oh my
you
God,
there.
I'm going to be the anti-Apple person. I'm going to start getting hate mail or something. But yeah, it's mostly Amazon Alexa devices and Google Home devices they're making a lot of headway in the market.
Yeah, it says I was looking at this. So Apple HomePods are only 4%.
That's what they say. That's what the analysts
Well, that's because
say.
Don't you have to have Apple Music to even play music on one?
Yeah, it's
so you can't play
it's
Spotify or something like that
locked
through
down.
Apple.
Not at this time, no.
Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
Right?
as a business-wise, obviously Apple's done all right in business, but I mean, to me, that just seems really counterintuitive. And I'm wondering, for those of you watching and listening, do any of you have an Apple HomePod, or if you do have a home smart speaker, what do you use, and which one are you using currently? Because for me, it's an Amazon device because they're
Same.
everywhere, and they're pretty inexpensive to pick up if you want to get one. I mean, obviously there's different ranges, but I mean, and I just actually pair mine with a different speaker. That's all I do.
That's all you have to do.
So I'm not even using the speaker function
just buy a Sonos One speaker. You already have an Alexa device built in.
Right, and pair it up with that. So curious to see what people think on that. But why do you think Apple is not making more of a push into this?
Why they're not? I don't know why they're not making a push into this. I know that there's extremely limited smart home integration. I mean, there's only handfuls of smart home devices that they connect with. So Siri isn't even a useful voice assistant around the home. There's just so much that the device can't do. I mean, it sounds great. I think that the people I talk to who are buying the HomePods are already very married into the Apple system, and they like the sound and stuff. But for the most part, I think most people are turning toward Google Home and Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa devices.
Yeah, even if you are using the Apple system already.
It's so frustrating. So my dad married into the Apple ecosystem at his house, or my mom and dad. But of course, my dad is the one who set it all up. They have it's all Apple. And so I go over there with my Android phone, and I can't play music anywhere. Right. I can't do anything. Yeah. It actually locks you out if you don't have an Apple device. There's just no way to...
So backwards.
We had a party there a couple weekends ago, and I'm like, hey, I have this playlist I want to play on Spotify. Yeah. I have to borrow their iPhone to get it to work on AirPlay at all.
Yeah.
It's just, that's so frustrating.
Extremely frustrating, and seems very counterintuitive, although, again, Apple seems to have done pretty well for themselves. Travis says Apple doesn't just jump in or Apple doesn't jump in because it is not matured just yet, talking about the smart speaker market. Well, I mean, if they're not going to jump in now, I don't know, you're 100 million devices out there by the end of this year, and I think it's getting
pretty mature.
Pretty mature.
Yeah,
and it's only going to expand.
They're losing the chance to make a move here. They have to do something extremely soon in order to make any sort of headway in the smart speaker market.
Well, and it's a lot of people, kind of following what they did. Once you start using Amazon devices, then it's just, why not just keep buying Amazon devices?
Right.
Yeah, especially when
Google
they work
devices.
with everything, right?
They work with they play nicely with just about anything and everything.
Taking another look at some other comments here. Ilian says, I have Alexa and I love it. And then talking about how the HomePod, bought a HomePod for my daughter, and now it doesn't work for me because I don't use Apple Music. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, how it doesn't mix up with those things, and that's really a hard time. I'm not going to read this name, but somebody on Periscope just said, glad I caught that. I made a decision a long time ago to never invest in Apple. I've saved so much money since then. I guess it depends on what
the price thing. I mean, like a HomePod's expensive.
So expensive.
It is.
So
how much is an Echo Dot and like a decent Bluetooth speaker?
Right.
Exactly.
And then Vicky is saying Apple will jump in and then claim they created the whole idea. And that's one thing Apple could do, is just buy somebody, but they're not going to be able to buy Amazon or Google. But if somebody,
not yet.
Although, you never know. But yeah, you never know what they could do. But at this point, the market is pretty dominated by those two. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. About 100 million devices by the end of this year. Who knows where we'll be in 2 years?
Right.
I mean, everything's going to be incorporated.
Everybody will have that Amazon Alexa robot thing.
We'll all have a robot. And kind of going along those lines, talking about the development of the AI for it, let's talk about Google Duplex. So I don't know if in case you forgot, this was announced, I don't know, maybe a month ago, whenever Google had their I/O event. And it's Google has developed this AI that sounds very human-like. And the example they showed was you could have this AI call and set up an appointment for you to speaking to another human, and the human on the other end would have no idea they were speaking to an AI. And it's pretty uncanny. And some of the ways that it would talk, it would, even throwing in like ums and ahs, and so it sounded almost human. I mean, if you didn't know, you would probably just pass it off as, okay, there was just a bad phone call or a connection.
Weird person on the other line.
Yeah, or a very strange person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's close enough. And now they're talking about using this same technology and actually applying it for some other things. And they're talking about call centers in using this. And supposedly they're already talking to some major insurance company about using Google Duplex to answer their customer calls for their customer care centers. And I think that's an interesting use of the technology, but I still don't know. I mean, that's such a frustrating thing. Like, I don't know what the perfect customer care service would be, but I don't know if this is really where I want to go. If I get mad just yelling at an AI, what do you guys think about this? Like, are you in favor of it, or would you prefer to speak to a normal, like an actual human?
Good question.
Yeah.
There are some actual humans who frustrate me a lot.
On
the other end of the customer service.
Do you ever have a good experience when you have to be on the phone?
If I'm calling an insurance company, it's probably not for a good reason.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think it makes sense logically. The way Google Duplex is set up, or at least what I've seen of it, it essentially would be perfect for a call center. I mean, automated, phone calls where you're doing simple transactions. I think it makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised to see it like in, several different places, several different large companies, call center type environments, employing it. Like, I think it makes sense. As for whether, I don't know, like Julian, our mobile editor, had the opportunity to test it out, and he said that the system got a little, when you asked it complex questions, it got flustered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of like a real person on the customer service line. So I don't know. I guess I'm taking a wait and see approach, whether it would be a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it depends on what it is. If it's something like insurance, I feel like, like I said, you're not going to be calling for a good reason. But if I just got in like an accident and my car needs to be taken to a shop, and that can be kind of a frustrating experience because you don't know what's going to happen. And if I'm talking to just an AI who shows no sympathy towards the situation, and I know what's going on, I feel like that kind of human interaction still has some value.
I feel like they'll have some fake sympathy in there.
Yeah.
Oh. Have a dial.
Oh my! I know what that's like. It's like, no, you don't.
You're a robot.
I've been told to tell you I know what that's like.
Exactly. Oh, that sounds very frustrating. Let me send you to I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something about that I don't know. Maybe I'm old school, but that would kind of bother me.
I feel like I want to use it, but I don't want it used on me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of those things.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't mind being called on my behalf, but like I don't want to talk to the person.
Be the one talking.
Yeah.
It's obviously this kind of technology. I mean, once they fully develop this, there's gonna be so many different uses for it.
It's gonna be full on Wall-E. We're just gonna all sit in chairs and eat crackers. And never have to talk to anyone.
Yeah. So there's the future to look forward to right there.
Little fatties, little scooters.
A little TV and
our robots bringing us things. When robots feeding you pizza. When robots, there we go. That's the future that we need. Just give up. So that's talking about Google Duplex. You could read all about that at Digital Trends. We do have some more things to talk about though, since we are getting into the robot territory, and I have to talk about robots on this show.
We call it the RoboZone.
The RoboZone. I like that name. Welcome to the RoboZone.
RoboZone.
All right, we'll come up with some sounders for that, some explosions and things. So, talking about robots, there are some interesting developments that I wanted to bring up just from this week. One of them comes from Harvard. And just this name, I'm just going to read this description. Harvard's robotic cockroach can now transition from land to water. So they're developing a robot based on a cockroach. And it's this insect-like robot can now actually walk on water. So they've made these little pads for it where it can skim across water. There's a video that goes along with it that's really creepy looking. If you imagine like 100 of these things all floating across the water towards you. And they're just trying to use different things with this to showcase the different ways that they could help out. You know, generally it's always in the idea of helping humanity. They're saying, think about this is coming from a Harvard researcher. Think about a scenario in which a building collapsed due to an earthquake or tsunami. There are many people trapped in confined and cluttered environments, and we can send in a swarm, hundreds of these small robots into the site to search for survivors. That is ostensibly a very good thing. I can also think of about a million different bad reasons you could use this technology, but it's an interesting way that they're trying to develop this, and I think it's not going to stop. We're going to keep on seeing more and more of these. How do you feel about a cockroach robot?
Did you? Well, okay. So I think the headline of this article was like "Move over Jesus."
Oh my gosh!
Or something. Your move, Jesus.
Your move, Jesus.
Whoever wrote that headline, that's just
beautiful.
That's a thing.
Came up with it, actually.
That's a
thing of beauty. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to like look at something this, premature,
primitive,
but I mean, like so like the Thai kids who were just stuck in the cave. Maybe they could have sent one of these in.
Think about that.
Send in a swarm of them to locate them and find them. Yeah, I mean that could actually serve a really good purpose.
Or creep them out even more.
Just
a
little, these things crawling all over the walls. Well, there's them, and then the other company that, of course, always finds a way to, show us things of awe and then also terrify us is Boston Dynamics. Although this is MIT, excuse me. So this is an MIT. So it looks similar to Boston Dynamics robots, which Boston Dynamics robo-dogs, if you've seen those, you know what we're talking about, and I'm sure just look it up. You'll find that. But this is MIT has theirs, and theirs is called Cheetah. And Cheetah, so it's a four-legged robot that looks like a dog without a head, essentially. And the big problem with a lot of these is going upstairs, and they've now figured out how to send these things upstairs. And some part of the video is them testing it and knocking it with boards and trying to knock it down. And they can't knock it down. It just keeps on going.
It does fall off the stairs at one point, though, in the video I watched. Which is pretty entertaining.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's fun to watch these things. I mean, until you incorporate the Google Duplex AI in it, I think we just knock them down as much as we can. But the real interesting part is they've
that's pretty terrifying.
Been able to make it jump onto a desk, and they said it's 30 centimeters high, and it just jumps straight up onto this thing. That kind of technology is scary.
I agree.
But
what are they going to do with this thing?
What good use? I don't know, other than give us all nightmares. But I'm sure there are some. Can you think of some good uses for this? Can anybody at home think of some good uses for this?
I honestly, just because you can doesn't mean you should. What are they going to do with this? Is this part of a bigger picture? Are they going to create an army of robots?
An army of robots. Yeah, that's I think where we're going with this.
Westworld, like my thought went to Westworld.
Black Mirror, something along those lines. I'm taking a look at some of the comments here. Travis said, behold the power of the cockroach. Ilian says that the MIT robot is so cool and noted that it is blind. And that's true. It doesn't have any camera sensors on it. So they've been able to get away with the camera sensors and just actually...
It was walking with 3 legs at one point, too, which I thought was weird.
Yeah. So there's no stopping it.
I mean, yeah, it's... I guess that could be like maybe like Battlefield, runs in and
runs in and grabs someone to rescue them, or
cockroach jumps them out.
Right, between the cockroach and the cheetah robots, I think we're all doomed. Is pretty much where we're at. But I do find this interesting, though, just how quickly this stuff is developing. Just kind of like what we talked about, with smart speakers. Within 2-3 years, they're everywhere. Where is this going to be in 2 or 3 years?
Right.
Combine it with the AI. So it's always fascinating. But digitaltrends.com is where you can read all about that stuff. And we do have a giveaway also that I need to bring up because we've got a lot of them going on right now. And you can go right now to digitaltrends.com/giveaways. And this one that we are doing is for a Dell Inspiron 13 5000 2-in-1 laptop. It's a Dell 2-in-1 laptop that we're giving away. And this thing is pretty sweet. So it's a 13.3-inch display, full HD resolution, 1080p, doubles as a touch screen. You can use it as a PC, a tablet, pretty much anything that you want. It's got you can also pick up the Dell Active Pen to use that with it as well. So it's really awesome, and we're giving this thing away. Like I said, all you have to do is sign up right now, digitaltrends.com/giveaways. I think you only have a couple of days left. 33 hours left as of right now, whenever you're hearing this. So get on it right now.
Whenever you're hearing this.
Whenever you're hearing this, it's going to be less than 33 hours. So know that. So go to digitaltrends.com/giveaways.
Potentially negative hours.
Potentially negative hours. That's why you want to download the podcast right when it comes out or watch live. So make sure you don't miss out on that stuff. So it's pretty cool that we have that. And this is all leading up to Prime Day, which Amazon Prime Day starts, it's actually longer than a day. It's 30 some hours, I think is what it ends up being. It's
something like that.
Something like that. But we have you covered here at Digital Trends. So this is part of the thing that I want to bring up. On July 17th, we will be having a very special live broadcast for about 4 hours where we're going to be covering everything that's going on with Amazon Prime Day. Amazing deals, things in all kinds of different categories. We have the editors of every department here at Digital Trends that'll be hopping on, including Kim.
That would be me.
That'll be you. Starting the day off with me at 9 a.m.
QVC style.
We'll work out all the kinks of it. So,
Great. I didn't think about that.
Yep. So that's starting on the 17th. It'll be 9 a.m. Pacific time where we'll start that broadcast on all of Digital Trends platforms and on the website. So make sure you mark that on your calendar and tune in for us there. Send us an email, podcast@digitaltrends.com. Any final thoughts on the impending robot apocalypse or...
We're doomed.
I'm worried.
All right.
Doomed.
That was it. We'll leave it on an up note. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another episode.
I didn't think about the fact that we're going to be working out the kinks.
Yeah, I know.